Dr. Bethany Brinkman from Briar College, and I'm here with you today to help you assemble your latest Explore box. This one is a flexible geometric building kit. I'm going to show you one option that you can do with it and then explain some of the engineering theory behind it. So let's get started. Supplies. You'll need a ruler, a pair of scissors, and a pen or a marker. And these will help you put everything together. Your box should have come with an information sheet, also a long bit of green exercise tubing, and 24 pre-cut dowels. The dowels are already cut, like I said, so we'll have to cut the tubing to begin our assembly of our polyhedron. So the first step is to cut the tubing into 2-inch chunks. I'm going to measure it off against my engineering scale. This doesn't have to be super precise. You have a little bit of extra tubing, but it should be pretty close to 2 inches. There's a couple, and then I'm just going to cut this with scissors. Like I said previously, you're going to have to make 24 pieces of tubing, so make sure that you have 24. The next step is to make a small slit in each of these pieces of tubing so that you can insert them together and make a cross piece like this that's going to form the basics of your polyhedron. So the slit should be through both sides of your tubing, and it should be about 1/4 inch long. You only need to make it in half or 12 of your tubing pieces, but I would strongly suggest that you make it in all tubing pieces to allow for greater flexibility later. I've made my mark, and now I'm going to cut it with a pair of scissors. And the easiest way that I've found to do this is to fold it in half and then put it right in the base of the scissors like this. Please be careful when you do this. If your scissors don't work too well, go ahead and try it with an X-Acto knife or box cutter, once again being very, very careful. You can see I have a slit in here through both sides of the tubing. And what I'm going to do is then I'm going to take another piece of tubing and insert that and pull it through and make a little cross piece. And you'll need to make 12 of these total from your 24 pieces of tubing. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is start to build the two-dimensional shapes that are going to go into your tetrahedron. You're going to start this part with 4 of your tubing intersections and 12 of your pre-cut dowels. The first thing we're going to do is build a square. So you're going to insert the dowels into the tubing intersections. And I would suggest inserting it quite a ways, not necessarily for structural integrity, but because as you start manipulating the tetrahedron, you don't want it to fall apart. So I'm going to put these together and make a square. And this too is where you can have some of your creativity come into play in your color selection. What kind of patterns do you want to have in your square? Do you want it all one color, multiple colors? You should have lots of choices. You can also decorate it at this point if you'd like as well. I've made a square. Now I'm going to make a hashtag by attaching dowels to all the open ends. And I have my completed hashtag using 4 tubing interconnections and 12 dowels. You're going to want to take this and then make another one exactly like it. Great! Now you should have 2 hashtags, each consisting of 12 dowels and 4 tubing connections. I want you to lay those right on top of each other. And we're going to start to take the remaining 4 tubing interconnections and connect the 2 hashtags together. So at one end of the square, you're going to put the tubing connection on to make a triangle in your top hashtag. And then you're going to come around and do the same for the bottom. And your tetrahedron will start to take shape. And this part can get a little tricky because it starts to move and stuff, but just go slow and you should be able to do it. I'm going to do that with each of the sides. So once again, taking the edges, making a triangle, and then connecting it in the same way to the bottom. Okay. And once again, And it's really starting to get springy now. And for the last one. When you're done, you should have your tetrahedron all assembled. Make sure that nothing's popped out, like this one has here, and just reattach those that are popped out. Great, you've finished assembling your polyhedron. Now let's look at it and play with it. You can twist it in a bunch of different ways, and it moves uniquely. You can build interesting shapes out of it, both two-dimensional and three-dimensional. So why is this engineering? Well, on one hand, it represents a lot of bonds that you might see in chemical and material structures. And so we can get an idea of how bonds might move relative to forces on one side of an object based on our polyhedron. Also, we can put weight on it, and where we put the weight and how we put the weight on might change how it moves. And dynamics is an interesting aspect of engineering that lets us predict how things move. So if we know the flexibility of our joints and our dowels in this case, we can predict how much the polyhedron will move when we push on it. So have fun and play with this some more and think about the engineering aspects. And please keep on building. One of the suggestions that I have is to put an additional tubing piece through some of the holes that you made and have 6 at a junction rather than 4. Figure out, what does that help you make? And once again, post anything you have to our website, and please contact us if you have any questions. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed your latest Explore Box from Sweet Briar College.